Welcome to the Awaken Your True You expert interviews. I'm Christine Bongiovanni, a certified life coach who helps women and some pretty cool guys create the love relationship of their dreams by first learning how to develop that love relationship with themselves. Well, here we go, you guys. This is actually round two. We didn't at least finish the whole thing, but I had my my recording on pause. So we're starting over, and that means it's going to be even better this time. I have with me the beautiful Jill Wright. She is a life coach school coach. I met her at one of our masterminds at dinner, and we happened to be talking about business. Imagine that. And she offered to help me. It was the first time I had met her. And I took her offer seriously. I joined her one on one coaching program. And Jill is a money mindset. I call her the money coach. She's a money mindset coach. She's going to tell you a little bit about exactly who she helps. But what I really realized in her program, I knew I didn't have a great relationship with money, but she was the catalyst that helped me start healing that relationship. And it's really funny how our relationships with each other, our relationships with our partner, our most intimate, like our romantic relationship, is very similar to our relationship with money. We're wanting our partners to do something so that we can feel better. And it's the same thing with money. We want that money to do something for us so that we can feel good. So, Jill has written a book. I'm so proud of her because this is one of my life goals. The book is called Money Lies: The Sneaky Way Your Brain Sabotages Success in Your Business. And we were just talking about how business, that word business, could be interchanged for your relationship, your job, anything really. The book is really about exposing the lies that we tell ourselves about making money. And she coaches coaches. So it's about making money as a coach. But I'm going to let her explain how this book could actually help you if you feel like you would like to start repairing your relationship with money. So, Jill, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into coaching, who you help, why you help them.
Yeah, I've really always wanted my own business because I just felt like in the corporate world where I was for like 25 years, I just always felt underutilized. And I found coaching during a time when I was seeking that something different from what I experienced in the corporate world. I wanted more say in the impact I had and what I did and how I did it. I really didn't have a problem with, you know, bosses, but I did want to be my own boss so I could make those decisions for myself. And so I started looking for a new job, but God actually ended up leading me to a new life in life coaching. And so that's how I got into life coaching. And I work with other coaches. And the gap that I wanted to fill when I got to the coaching world was I saw a lot of coaches playing small because of their relationship with money. So they weren't going out and having the impact that they were meant to have. They weren't making the money that they were meant to have. And I saw this as a direct uh, result of their relationship with themselves and their relationship with money. And so that's what the book talks about is how to build a better relationship with yourself and with money. And that's where I found I wanted to make a difference in the world by impacting, by equipping and empowering coaches to impact, equip, and empower other women.
I love that. I mean, and that's truly what I found out through coaching with you. I mean, like when we were talking at the table, think I was just like, I'm not sure who I want to coach. And oh my gosh, first of all, can I just share the conversation? I'm pretty sure it was you, or it could have been Natalie. But anyway, like what lights you up when you're coaching people? Because at the time I was just coaching, I was coaching everybody on and anything they wanted coaching on. And I was like, business. I love talking business with people. Well, I have some clients that I'm working with that own businesses too. And you know what I love the most about coaching them is coaching them on making more money. And it's not even so much like the money thing, but just like getting out and being bold and like doing what they're afraid of doing. And today, my daughter and I were talking. I'm working with a designer um, with my branding and everything, and I just got 2 mood boards from her. And I was talking about the graphic designer, and oh man, if she watches this, I'm going to tell her in person anyway. But like, I totally felt her hesitation when she was presenting that to me. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to coach her so bad. So I don't know, Jill. Maybe I will someday end up going back to that. But a lot of my clients are business owners anyway. And what I found out, like, I really didn't know where I was going with my niche, but working with you, and I think you were in a little bit of transition with your like specifically. I don't think at that time you were specifically working with coaches. I could
Right.
be wrong, but what I realized working with you is that, yeah, I can't make more money when I have these limiting beliefs about the money I can make. Like we can think, oh, I'm going to make, whatever, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But when we don't believe it, there's such a detachment there. And so, with that, tell me a little bit about, we were just talking about how like I get so excited when I talk to people about their business. Um, and I'm going to be honest, one of my fears around that is like, who am I to tell people how to run business, which is so silly, right? Because I've been working for myself for 33 years. But it's the lies we tell ourselves. But tell me, what about this really lights you up? Like, did you work with money prior to becoming a coach? And what is it about what you're doing with people and how you're helping them that, just really lights you up?
Yeah, well, I have degrees in accounting. I have a bachelor's and a master's in accounting. And so I worked in accounting, I worked in finance and reporting pretty much throughout my career. And so that's one area where I'm connected to money. But I mean, I've even had my own money journey because my money journey wasn't always smooth. Just because I had the education doesn't mean that I had the beliefs about money and the beliefs about myself that would lead me down the path of having plenty of money. Although I did eventually get there. And that's what allowed me to quit my job in 2018 to become a life coach, was because my husband and myself were able to manage our finances in a way that allowed us that freedom to we both quit our jobs. I was 50 and he was 53, and decide, you know what, I think we have enough to make it for the rest of our lives. And if this coaching thing takes off like I expect it to, then that will just be gravy, right? That'll be just that much more that I can do in the world and do, as a legacy for our family, whether it's, we don't have kids, but nieces and nephews. So, yeah, I mean, I have my own money stories that, some of which were already good, some of which I transformed myself. But that it's so key to how you proceed in the world is how you think about money, because money is so tied to our value.
Mm,
Money represents value, and we use money as a scorecard in the world as to how much we're worth because people pay us for, you know, whatever worth we bring to, if we have a job, it's to the company that we work for. If it's to a business, it's, for the product or the service that we put out. So there's that exchange. So somehow along the way, we connect that very deeply to our value as individuals. And the same thing happens in a relationship. We bring that individual value to that relationship. So I think it's so key that we're talking about relationships because it all just ties together.
mm, hmm. Totally agree because ha- you said this in our original uh, non-recorded interview. I'm going to say it this time. How we do one thing is kind of how we do everything in our life, right? Um, those weren't your exact words, but I paraphrase. So tell me this. A couple things came up for me while you were talking, and one was um, the fact that you can actually have a lot of money. When I think of my past business and the money I was able to make without really, like I didn't go to business school. I was a graphic designer who started with a chemical engineering degree. And so, like, I didn't have a whole lot of business and um, background. But even when I was making a lot of money, it felt exhausting and it never felt like I was always holding on tight to it because I was afraid I was going to lose it. So, how do you recognize when someone has a money mindset that's holding them back? And then also kind of tie into that the opposite, kind of the journey that you take people on, um, and how they get to the other side of that.
Yeah, well, first, it does require you to recognize something that's missing, right? So for you in your former businesses, that indicator could have been that negative emotion or that resistance or that restriction that you felt around money. So a lot of times we can feel it if we're looking at our emotional state, if we're looking at how we're feeling about things. That's one of the key things that I have my clients look for. The other thing is that if you're not producing the results that you want in whatever you're doing, whether it's your job or whether it's your business or whether it's your relationships, then is it because of a lie that you're believing that is limiting you? That's what I call money lies. And it doesn't just apply to money, it applies to anything that we do in life. It applies to time, it applies to love, it applies to connection, to even to our kids and other family members. It applies to everything. If you're limited in one area, chances are you're limited in another area, and you're believing some version of that same lie. And so where that showed up for me is I'm not enough. And the reason I believed this was because other relationships that I had been in, from my mom, my dad, my first husband, they all seemed to leave at some point. And so I made that mean I'm not enough. I'm not enough as a person. And so how that tied into money is that if I'm not enough, then I'm not deserving of that money that I'm getting, or my work is not good enough, or, I can't do better, or, so those are the types of lies that you would see coming up. And a lot of times they're subconscious. So they're they're really hard to look for, but that's why I suggest that people look for them in their emotions and also in their results.
Yes. And when you said that, I was thinking like slippery. like money is slippery. And
Mm,
that was the first thing that came to me, is that, I need to hold on to it, or I need to like buy stuff so you know, I have something so the money can't go away because I have this thing.
mhm.
So yeah, and I like the fact that, we have this idea, uh, well, we, meaning myself and people who have limiting mindset around money, we have, I have a bit of a fear of having conversations. I remember this in my other business when I had clients that were what I would call successful, like CEOs and, corporate presidents, and I was always afraid to talk about money, like I would sound stupid. And then the people, I have a great friend who's an accountant, and I always think that she just knows everything about money. She's very comfortable about money. I don't really even know that. I mean, we've never really had money conversations. Maybe she is, but so that in of itself doesn't mean you have a good money mindset. It just means you know a lot about money. You know how
Right.
to move it around and all of that stuff. So that's good to know. I mean, and to not even be to learn how to not even be afraid of talking about it. I mean, that's where I've gotten to, is like, I'm not even afraid of sounding stupid around money, because that means that if somebody can teach me something, I'm going to learn. Um, so tell me a little bit, as you were kind of thinking about getting ready for this conversation, one of the top reasons couples argue, and one of the things that creates the most tension in their relationship, is money. How do you see money affecting relationships, and why do you think that is? And eh, eh, what would you say would be a solution to start working towards a healthier mindset around money in your relationship?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, we have, we have tied this idea of value to our personal value. And, our life is about relationships. It's our life, and even our business is built on relationships because humans are designed for connection. And so, since money is a representation of value, and that's tied, now into um, how how we value ourselves, it also ties into how we value others, right? If you think about when people talk about, how good or bad or how great or not great somebody is, a lot of times they bring in, well, how much do you make, or how much, do you have, or how much do you have invested, and it kind of ties into that. And so, and when we join in a relationship, we're connecting at a deeper level, right? We're connecting at that value level. And of course, I have certain values, you have certain values, and in any relationship, and any, like in a marriage, those values sometimes conflict.
Mm.
Just as a simple example, when my husband and I got married, we had very different money styles. This is my second husband. We had very different money styles. I was more of a spender and a giver, right? I was very generous. He was more of a saver, so, and more of an investor. And so even the money we did spend, we spent on different things. So not only was our money style different, but we had different ways that we valued things. So he hates shopping. I love shopping. I like buying clothes and shoes and stuff, right? Because, hey, if I don't have the money, at least I'll have the stuff, just like you said. But he doesn't value things as much. He values experiences. So he hates going shopping for clothes or shoes or anything like that. That's boring. But he doesn't mind spending money on sporting events or concerts or trips or vacations. So I think what we value, that comes into conflict. And then how we value money, of course, comes into conflict. And then how we value ourselves also can come into conflict. So I think that like creates almost this perfect storm for conflict in a marriage, when you combine all of those things. And so if you think about, because when we first got married, he had never been married before, so he wasn't used to sharing his, sharing finances, although he wanted to combine and join everything because that's the way he grew up. um, Everything was joint, but we kept having conflicts about the money that each one of us would want to spend and how we would want to manage our money. And, I didn't know that we were going to make it out of that first year. It was pretty rough. And so we tried a bunch of different ways to come together on that and to agree. And, we just kept doing experiments. We kept saying, well, if we're going to stick with this, we've just got to find a way. And so we were very diligent and in finding that answer for us. But we customized it to us. So I think that's one thing, is that you have to be flexible and you have to be willing to experiment. And it doesn't matter what works for everybody else. You have to find something that works for you. And it's the same way that I do my business, and it's the same way that I coach coaches on their business, right? They're always worried about doing it right. And I just tell them, the right way is your way because it's your business.
Mm,
So it's the same thing with relationships. The right way is your way because it's your relationship. And so, I felt discounted sometimes when, because he managed the money because he is really a true accountant. I'm an accountant by education, but I don't enjoy accounting. He actually
mm,
enjoys accounting. So
mm,
he was, in charge of managing the money, and he did an awesome job. And what he would always say is, "No, we don't have the money for that. We don't have the money for that." And I would get so frustrated. But then he would spend the money on what he wanted. And so I felt like he was discounting me, right? Because he discounted my values, I thought he was discounting me. So just recognizing, how each person feels in the relationship, and valuing that other person's, um for lack of a better term, values, value.
mhm, mhm,
um, because you can find a way to understand what the other person is experiencing if you're willing to communicate your values to them and listen to what their values are. And I think that's so huge. I think that's something that we typically miss because we we just don't think about our relationship in terms of, okay, what are the things that you value in life? And I come across this in my clients all the time, and that's why people don't like budgeting, is because they think it has to be according to a template. They think it has to be a prescription. And so they don't um, they don't think about a budget as being flexible according to what you value, right? You just give a little, take a little, and you're flexible around what it is that you value. And so I think comparing what we value to what the other person values is a good exercise to go through so that we know, like, what do we have in common and what do we have to compromise on it. Maybe
mm,
we can both have what we want, and sometimes maybe we just have to compromise. So I think that is a huge part of it. And then just recognizing, I think starting with yourself, what is your relationship with yourself? And what is your relationship with money? That's an individual, that's work you have to do as an individual, right? Before you even bring that to the relationship. Because when we don't value ourselves, then a lot of times what's happening is we're looking to somebody else to value us. We're looking for that externally. when we can go ahead and give that to ourselves. And when
Mm.
we're focused on that, we're not focused on what we can give the other person that is of value. And that can put a strain, I think, on the relationship.
So beautiful. You answered two questions. That whole was beautiful because a couple of things I want to highlight and look back at is the fact that you kept working on the solution. You didn't make it mean this isn't going to work. You know, he is just stubborn. He doesn't understand that you came together, maybe weekly, whatever you decided, and looked at things and talked about it. And that's kind of what I help people do in my program is, okay, what is it that's not working and how are we going to fix it? What are we going to do? And so putting it under the rug and like, oh, this is just going to get better, or we'll just keep our finances separate, it never works. It keeps getting worse. And then you came around as well talking about doing this work. A lot of people are already in a relationship, and it is absolutely work to start today if you're going to, you recognize that you need or want to do some work on yourself and um, feel better, enjoy life more. And so you can definitely, if you're in a relationship, start. But with something I was actually going to bring up, I decided not to, but I'm glad you did, is that I also help people who aren't in a relationship yet, but want to work on themselves and knowing that they want to get in a relationship in the future. And so that work is the same thing. Like we're using money as our value, or, that partner is making us valuable. And what you said is that it is the work of really finding the value within yourself and then figuring out what you want, like from money, what you want from it, what you're just like with your relationship. So that was awesome. So obviously, we have your book as a resource, and you can get that on Amazon. I'm going to include a link to that in the notes from the episode. Is there any other book or resource that you might recommend for people wanting to do some dabbling with this?
Yeah, I have a couple. There's one I'm reading right now that I've really been enjoying. So I haven't finished it yet, but it's called, it's by Steve Chandler, and it's um, 50 ways to create great relationships. And so that can apply to any relationship. And I've been using it in the context of money, but it ties in, like you said at the beginning, to so many different things. And then the other one that I really, really like is Dave Ramsey's The Legacy Journey. And really, he has so many good resources, but I always recommend that one to my clients just because it really gives you a good, solid perspective on what money actually is so that we can start to have a healthy relationship with money and unlimit our money mindset just by in the way that we look at it. Because just like you said, if you're in a relationship with money where all you do is come to money when you want something, then that's not going to be a very good relationship. You can imagine if the only time you showed up to talk to your husband was when you needed something, then that wouldn't be a very healthy relationship. So really getting a better perspective on that, I think the legacy journey gives us that, and it also ties in the biblical perspective, which is also helps us create that relationship.
I love that. Yeah. So, um, do you have a free course or a free offering besides your book? I mean, your book
Well, my
is
book I've added to my website as a free resource.
okay.
So they can go to
Awesome.
my website to get it free, or it's available on Amazon. And and then I'm also always putting new things on my website, new worksheets and different ways to think about things and to go deeper into your limited money mindset. So they can always check out my website. And of course, they can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest at Jill Wright Coaching.
And you have a podcast too, right?
And I have a podcast, and the
There
podcast
you
is
go.
called Money Lies, and
Right.
that I talk a lot about the lies that we have around limited mindset, money mindset.
Awesome. So we're going to provide all of that for our listeners to have access to those resources. And any last words of wisdom before we wrap up?
I think you can't do anything about anyone else, obviously, but understanding your part and owning that so you're showing up how you want to is the key. So, what do you want to bring to that relationship, whether it's with money, whether it's a spiritual relationship, whether it's with your partner? What do you want to bring to that relationship, regardless of how anyone else shows up? So when
Mm,
I stop focusing on what they should do differently and start focusing on who I want to be, then my world changes. And I got that from Byron Katie.
I
So
love
watch out for
that.
the lies you're believing.
Oh, you must have been listening to my coaching session this morning. Oh, yes, I got coached very hard about some stubborn thoughts about my husband. I'm doing the work too, right along with my clients. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Jill. It has been so much fun. I've loved getting to know you, and I'm so grateful for you to have been willing to come on to this interview and share all your wisdom with our listeners.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Awaken Your True You expert interviews. If you enjoyed listening, then you have to go check out my Awaken Your True You one-on-one coaching program where we take all of this material and we apply it to your romantic life. We study it, we take it to the next level, and we create the romantic relationship of your dreams. For any questions, comments, or coaching issues you'd like to hear right here on this blog, please visit me on my website and together let's awaken you. Ciao.